Hi guys, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. I'm very excited to have you. It's gonna be a back and forth situation today with happiness, sadness, scariness. We're gonna go on a roller coaster today. We could literally watch Kristen chain smoke cigarettes for freaking hours. Hi guys, how are you? If you're new here, my name is Sam. I am Mentally Growing 24/7. I am a pop culture commentary channel. And today's episode, we are going to be talking about Real Housewives stuff. Okay, we have Real Housewives of New York. We have Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. That's kind of like the territory that I really want to get into today. Okay, I have been back. Like, if you guys have been following me for a while, you know that I am a Beverly Hills fan, but I also like struggle with Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, like very much struggle with that show. Okay. And then we have Real Housewives of New York, which I'm going to be completely candid and real with you and honest with you. I have not watched a single episode. I think I watched maybe the first episode of the season. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do first and last of this season because that's just how I feel about it. And from all the reviews I've been hearing online, I'm on the right track with that one. So we're going to talk about the very last episode of this season. That's season 15, okay? Season 15, episode 15. We're going to talk about it, okay? Now, I'm going to do a trigger warning before we start this episode. Trigger warning because Kyle Richards triggers me. And then a trigger warning because the Real Housewives of New York episode is talking about some very sensitive topics that include SA, that include rape. So it's going to be a tougher conversation. So I just kind of want to start out with Real Housewives of Beverly Hills first. So maybe we can kind of just like have a fun conversation or silly or not too serious. And then we'll get into Real Housewives of New York. That way, if anybody needs to step away from the video, they can do that towards the end of the video. Okay, so Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. When I tell you that Miss Kyle Richards is pretty much, I think, on my last nerve, like my nerve, the last one that I have in my baby toe, has said, I'm done. I've had enough. I can't take it anymore. Get her away from me. I just feel like I don't see this a lot. Okay. I don't see this a lot because I just don't feel like the audience should be deciding when someone should or should not be on the shows. Okay. I don't think that's our job. Okay. We don't get paid for that. It just is what it is. You know, there's some things that are just like unethical and wrong and awful. And I totally understand that. And I totally get that. But overall, I just don't think us as the audience should really be having that conversation and be making those claims. That being said, get Kyle Richards off my goddamn camera, okay? I can't take it anymore. I've had enough. This woman, I don't know who she pissed off this season, but the editors, I thought the editors didn't like her last season. I thought the producers were over her last season. Girl, they don't like her this season. They don't want to talk about her this season. They don't give a shit. They are literally letting this woman look horrible on national television. So self-centered, so just, oh my God, narcissistic. Like it's everything that I already knew she was. Like I already knew these things about Kyle Richards, but like I feel like the audience didn't get to see that. But now I finally, in the audience, I feel like are seeing the same person. Now, let me be very, very clear. This does not mean that I think Dorit is just the most incredible human being ever. Like, oh my God, she's an angel. And like, Kyle, no, let's be for real. We're all adults here. It is way more nuanced than that. Okay. It is very much way more nuanced than that. It's not just black and white. Like this person's right. This person's wrong. Like that's just not how it operates and works. Also, if you judge me about this paneling behind my house, like behind my head right now, you don't have a toddler who draws on your walls. Okay. And I see you. Okay. So here's the thing about Dorit and Kyle. Okay. What I have always struggled with when it has come to Miss Kyle Richards, okay, what I've always struggled with her is she has younger child syndrome, heavily has younger child syndrome and has had younger child syndrome since she's been alive. And the constant need for attention, the constant need for me, and the constant need of feel bad for me and feel bad for my situation, but I don't care about yours and I don't want to talk about yours. And when you confront me with a problem, I'm going to make a big deal out of it and give a temper tantrum. And I feel like Sutton has kind of been understanding that for a little while now, especially last season. And it's kind of been pulling back pieces to get other people to realize it too. And watching Kyle go to Beau's little event, which cracked me up. Beau's being like, listen, I'm going to do it right. It's like, girl, you started the problem at your own party. Like nobody was talking about anything until you walked up to Kyle. It cracks me up. It's like, I'm going to have a classy event. It's like, Beau's, you caused the drama, girl. You were the drama, which for television purposes is totally fine with me. But it just cracked me the hell up that she's like, we were at Sutton's and we were screaming, yelling, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I'm going to show him how it's done. Show him how what's done. I was dying. So obviously we have Beau's event. And the thing that bothered me the most is that Kyle just goes, I have a very hard time with people that in social situations, I'm not talking about like in the privacy of your own home. Like I am a 0 to 100 kind of gal. Okay. Don't get it misunderstood. Okay. I am a 0 to 100 kind of girl. Okay. But I don't like it in social situations when people go from 0 to 100 in your own privacy of your home, in like private conversations. You know what? You do you feel yourself. But when there is a group of people and you're just trying to have a conversation with somebody and they go from 0 to 100, it makes me want to lose my mind. It drives me crazy. I can't stand it. Okay. And Kyle knows what she's doing. And if you don't think that, I don't know what the fuck to tell you anymore. This woman has been on her TV program for 15 seasons. 15 seasons. That's over a decade. Okay. And if you don't think that this woman knows what the hell she's doing, you are delusional. You are delusional. She knows exactly what she's doing. She knows how to play things. She knows how the producers behave. She knows how the TV is made. Like, she gets all of this. And for her to say some of the things that she was saying was giving me like a stomach ache. Like, I was actually getting very frustrated and angry because I don't understand how last season you wanted so much love and support and sympathy, empathy, all the things. Okay. You wanted all that for yourself in your situation with Mo. Okay. And you wanted people to see where you were coming from. You wanted to see that people had, where clearly you were having some heartbreak. You were having a hard time. You made up this relationship that didn't really exist, didn't really happen, but oh my God, everybody thinks I'm a lesbian. Everything's I'm a lesbian. Why does people think that? It's like, because you keep bringing out your lesbian bestie in public and behaving a certain way that is making people think that you are. That you are pushing the narrative. Nobody else is. You don't have to be out in public. You know where the paparazzi are. Like, this is my thing, is like Kyle knows what she's doing. She knows what she's doing. And she will do anything in her power to not have a conversation about her and Mo. She doesn't want to have conversations about her and Mo. She's never wanted to have conversations about her and Mo. And then when she does, it has to be what she wants to talk about. It cannot be what anybody else wants to talk about. It has to be the narrative that Kyle wants to create and Kyle wants to make up. If anybody else talks about anything else in their relationship, she does not want to talk about it. But then she wants to bring up other people's shit and other people's drama and other people's problems. And she wants to insinuate little things to kind of push somebody else over the edge so they'll ask the questions and they'll have all the things. Like, that's the thing, is like, Kyle is a little sneaky shit. Okay, she's a little sneaky shit. So when they're at the party there, or the get together or whatever with all the super sexy massagists, oh my God, they were so sexy. So when she's there having this little get together with everybody, and Beau's like kind of goes up to her and is like, okay, so like, why did you show these 4 women at a table? Mind you, none of them asked to look at this shit. She brought it up and pulled it out herself. Okay. Why did you, show all them, but you wouldn't show me? And at this, there's both sides to this for me. On one hand, it's like, she doesn't know you from a hole in the fucking wall. Like, we don't know you that deep. Like, we don't know you that well. Like, she doesn't have to do anything for you. But I do understand in the concept of like, Kyle's doing this stuff on purpose. Kyle is narrating her story on purpose and avoiding the person she actually needs to talk to, which Erica brings up multiple times in this episode. We are not the ones that need to be having the conversation. We are not the ones that need to be making up the stories. I am not the one that needs to be in the middle of this shit. This is Dorit and Kyle's problem. And I could not agree more with Erica. Erica, can I just pause? Okay. Pre-K pause. The way that I am obsessed with Erica this season, the comeback story of the motherfucking year, the voice of reason. One minute I'll be like, oh my God, what do you mean by that? And then next I'll be like, oh wow, that makes a lot of fucking sense. Like, she's totally right. Like, I could not believe that when Kyle was having her temper tantrum, that she went out and she was very much like, Kyle, you're right. You didn't do anything wrong. Like, people are just misunderstanding it and sticking their nose and everything like that. And, Kyle's sitting there like, I don't know anybody anything. She's right. You don't owe anybody anything. The only person that you owe a conversation to is Dorit. And I was like, did she just say that? I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud of Erica. I was like genuinely shocked that she said that. I was like, wow, this is incredible. This is a huge change for her. And I feel like Erica is very much like, these are my two friends. I'm trying to do the best I can. I'm trying to be as honest as I can. And I'm trying to support them because, like she says in her talking head, nobody supported me and nobody had my back when I needed them the most or gave me the benefit of the doubt. And so I'm trying to give that grace to people, even though they maybe didn't give that grace back to me. And I appreciate that about her. I find that very nice of her to do because she genuinely doesn't have to do that. Because, I mean, everybody in that group was, whoo, mama, when she was going through her shit, she shouldn't have even been on that show when she was going through all that stuff because it was too much for her. It's too much for anybody. But for her to have her opinions the way she's having them and seeing both sides and having good conversations and saying good things. And like for Dorit to be like, oh yeah, I feel like you weren't supporting me and loving me. It's like, so you heard everything else that she was saying out back in Beau's house, but you didn't hear the part where she said that she actually does owe you an explanation. Kyle does need to speak to you about it. Kyle actually shouldn't be talking to everybody else. Kyle should be talking to you. You didn't hear that part though, when you were sneaky peeking a conversation over here, like for God's sakes. And listen, I know that Dorit is dramatic and I understand that and I get that and I agree with you guys. I know that, okay? But if Kyle, when they were sitting outside, okay, after she had her little, I'm out of here, I'm done. I literally was exactly where Sutton was. I was like, okay, wham. Like, I'm not, like, what are we doing? Like, I'm not going to race after you when you're having a temper tantrum and you're an adult woman. And then when she has the audacity to turn around and be like, you should all be ashamed of yourself. Kyle, no one's ashamed of themselves right now. You should be ashamed of yourself. Your behavior, you should be ashamed of. You are acting more immature than your 16-year-old daughter right now. Grow up. You have, at some point, we have to stop playing this little game of, I'm not coming back to the show. I can't do this anymore. I can't be here anymore. I don't like this. Okay, then you know what? At least Lisa Vanderpump, when she was done, the bitch was done. You, on the other hand, still showing up every season, still collecting that paycheck, still loving the attention. If it's that awful for you, then get off of the show and stop crying. I've had enough of the cry wolf crap. Get off the show. If it's that horrible, if it's that much torture for you, then get off the show. It's fine. It's fine. It's okay. But she can't do it. She's going to grip to the grips of life because she is, if I'm correct, the last OG, I think. I don't think there's any more left because I'm going to assume Teresa is not coming back to Real Housewives of New Jersey if they ever even reboot that. Okay. That's just me though. So when they're outside, her and Dorit, to have the sense of calm to be like, nope, I am going to talk to her. Let's walk outside. And being like, let's calm down. Let's have a conversation. Let's not go crazy. Let's like really have this out, okay? To go out there and sit with her on the sidewalk. And first of all, they're sitting on the sidewalk, which is fucking hilarious to me, in fucking full-blown robes and like slippers and everything. It's hilarious to me. These like super rich women. And they're sitting out there. And for Kyle, if this was reversed, if she was saying the shit that she was saying to Dorit's face and on camera, if Dorit reversed this and said the same shit to her about Mo, Kyle would lose her ever-living mind. And that is something that needs to keep being shoved back in Kyle's face. If I was being spoken to like that, I would literally look at her and go, how would you feel if I did this with Mo? How would you feel? Because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, if I was talking to Mo the way that you were talking to PK, right after you guys had separated, not divorce, not a couple years gone, no. Smooth right after. If I was doing that, you would be miserable and angry and mad at me, and rightfully so. And for Kyle to do well, she didn't say anything to me. Like, how was I supposed to know? Like, it's not like she told me anything. And it's like, and I agree with Dorit, I'm sorry, if you're such a girl's girl, if you're that bitch, oh my God, I'm a girl's girl. I swear I'm a girl's girl. If you're such a girl's girl, nobody should have to tell you that. Not one person should have to tell you that. You should have the wherewithal to go, you know what? And it's not even about size. It's like, oh, his size. No, it's called respect. Respect boundaries. If you know anything, and she knows this, Kyle knows this. This is what cracks me the fuck up, is Kyle knows this. That shit can get spun so quickly. And that you can be used in a relationship between exes as a fucking pawn. And I've experienced it myself in my own divorce, where one of you is yip, 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 yapping to your friend. The other one's yip, yip, yapping to your friend. And then your friend feels like they're in the middle of everything and they have to go back and forth and shoot. No. Don't set yourself up for that. Just be a girl's girl and just go be on Dorit's side and let Mo handle PK. Why do you need to be around PK? Why? And I think it's because she secretly likes talking shit about Dorit. That's what I think. And for her to sit there and be like, I've never seen that side of PK before, so I don't know about that. You were sick. When she said that, I was so flabbergasted when she said basically that, something to the effect of like, I've never seen PK like that, so I just think like Dorit might be using this to her advantage and making it dramatic. You've never seen PK angry. You've never seen PK upset. You've never seen PK talk down to Dorit. Have you fucking watched the show? Do you watch the show, or do you only watch the parts that you're in, Kyle? Because on the show, we have seen him disrespect Dorit. We've seen him talk down to Dorit. We've seen him be rude to Dorit. We've all seen that before on the show, on camera. So are you only skipping to the parts that you're in? Because if you watch the show like the rest of us are, the show that you're on, you would know that PK has done these things on camera for all of us to look at, and has done mean things, rude things, nasty things. He is a little slime ball. We all know that. Please, again, this is like, I think the third video I've made about Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. If someone could please in the comment section, please, I am begging you, tell me where the hell this man makes his money currently, right now, today. Where does this man make his money? I have had one comment in my comment section. You know what it said? As of like back in time, this is where he was making his money. That's great. I want today. I want to know right now, where is he making his money? I want proof. I want receipts. I want an email. I want it all. Like, where is this man making his money? I don't know. I don't believe it. Okay. I don't believe anything that comes out of that man's mouth. Okay. So for her to just sit there and be like, well, he's never like that to me. How would you fucking feel if Dorit came up to you and was like, well, Mo was never mean to me, and I never saw Mo behave this way and Mo behave that way, invalidating your experience with the person that you're not with anymore? That is so, let me even trigger her a little bit more, okay? How would she feel if someone came up to her and said, well, Kathy was never mean to me, so, I mean, I don't have a problem with Kathy, but, maybe, Kyle's just being dramatic and putting it on, to make Kathy look bad. Would Kyle like that? Oh, wait, that has happened. And guess what? She didn't fucking like it. For God's sakes, Kyle, this is not a big deal. These are fucking women that I will never meet, never know. They don't give two shits about my opinion or my thoughts. Let's be for real right now. But Kyle, it's to the point now where she's not watchable. Like, Kyle Richards is just not watchable to me anymore. She's not, and I don't find her to be entertaining. I don't find her to add to the conversation. If anything, I find her to be insulting. Like, we're not saying things that are just kind of like off the cuff and silly and crazy. You're invalidating a woman's experience with their husband that you just went through last season, and you have zero compassion for her. But we're begging people for compassion last season for you in your situation. Begging for it. Was outraged. Made a fool of yourself. Hucking out a relationship that wasn't fucking real. Okay? To ignore the fact that you and Mo were having problems. So you didn't have to talk about you and Mo. You could just keep talking about you and Morgan. Let's be for real, please. Which is, I can't even tell you the depths of ignorance that adds to me when it comes to just using queerness as a storyline when you're not fucking queer. That drives me so up a fucking wall. And it's another reason why I struggle so hard with Kyle, is you don't get to use a community's experiences to avoid talking about you and your husband. Like, I'm sorry, you don't get to do that. It's disgusting. It's gross. It's weird. I don't like it. And so for her to have a temper tantrum and to run off and then to invalidate everything that Dorit's been going through and Dorit has with PK, and to not realize that PK is using you, Kyle. And then when Dorit said, this is actually like a nightmare of mine, like that I had when I divorced my husband, my first husband, because I have two because I'm cool like that. My first husband is when she said that PK would hang out with Mo and then he'd go over to Kyle and Mo's house. And then he would basically bitch with Kyle about Dorit and then come home and tell Dorit that he like gossiped and bitched about her to Kyle. That is so sick and demented and so just wrong. Like, it's so wrong. And that was like one of my worst fears, is that like my ex-husband and we had a mutual friend who's now my bestie. And I was always worried that like she was going to tell them something or he was going to tell her something. And like, it was just going to be like this middleman BS. And it's just like not worth it to me. Like, this type of stuff is just like wrong. And to do that while you're still married to this person and then come home and have the audacity to go, guess what I did last night? I bitched and complained about you with your best friend. Isn't that cool? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, I'm sorry, Kyle, if you cannot see that PK is one of the most toxic fucking humans ever, you're crazy. And somehow in the back of my mind, I feel like PK is somebody that Kyle can bitch with about Lisa Vanderpump, because she brought Lisa Vanderpump up, which I was like, Lisa Vanderpump is over here with her 700 restaurants in Las Vegas being like, you're still talking about me, darling. You're still talking about me. That's crazy. I'll be over here with Pee and Pom Pom and Zizi and Gigi over at my restaurants in Vegas. Yes. Like, that is fucking hilarious to me. Like, nothing is better than hearing that someone you don't talk about, that you never bring up, that you are not friends with anymore. Nothing is better when you find out that all your haters talk about is you. When I find out that people that I have not talked about or talked to in decades are still talking about me to this day, I'm like, did you want a fan club t-shirt? Am I going to send you a sticker? Did you sign up for the newsletter for what's going on with me today? That was ice. Some ice just fell down my window, scary. But when I hear things like that, I just die. I'm like, oh my God, Lisa Vanderpump is somewhere in a corner cackling at the fact that you and PK, I know for a fact, still bitch about her and talk about her and probably put stuff out there about, oh my God, it's like, grow up. So I'm just like, I don't know, you guys, that's how I kind of feel about the whole situation. I know it's a lot of me talking about it, like over talking about something that's like so simple and stupid, but I'm just kind of over Kyle. I've been over Kyle. I have been on the get Kyle off the show brigade for years. And yeah, if that makes me part of the fan club, I guess it fucking does. And I'll get my weekly t-shirt and I'll be fine with that. Okay. And I will get my sticker and I will show up to the meetings every single week. And I'm totally okay with that. But like, I've just kind of had enough. Like, Kyle's story to me is over. There's nothing that she is adding to me for the show. And that if she was off the show, I think the show would survive and thrive without her. And I think that was a big conversation when Lisa Vanderpump was off the show. I think that was a big, when other Lisa was off the show, of like, will the show survive? Will the show thrive? Will the show be okay without them? And guess what? It will. It will be okay. It will be fine. Everything will be okay. We will all survive without Kyle Richards. Oh my God, we'll survive. Like, we all have to move on eventually and get over some shit. And I think Kyle needs to be off the show for a while. And if I'm going to be compassionate, I also think Kyle, for her mental health, needs to be off of the show. I think that it is time for Kyle to take a step back from this part of her identity. And I do think that, again, if I'm going to have compassion for her, I do think that being a mom and being a wife and being a housewife kind of all intertwined together. And I feel like she's now not a wife anymore. I feel like her kids are now like, we just saw her youngest daughter has a car now. So like, they're all kind of moving out of the nest. So she's alone in this huge house. Okay. And then on top of that, getting a sense of normalcy from Housewives taken away from you. I feel like all of that would it could be very hard for her. But at the same time, I feel like it would be a good thing for her to walk away from Housewives and create her own identity outside of mom, wife, and housewife. I feel like that could be really good for her. Will she do that? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think she's going to hold on to the grips of fucking life to this show and is going to go down with the plane. Going to go down with the ship, okay? As they say. But we'll see what happens. All right, so before we talk about Real Housewives of New York, obviously I want to give a trigger warning because we are going to talk about assault, and we're going to be having a very dark conversation, but I think we do need to talk about this, and I appreciate this show, and I appreciate these women, and I appreciate the conversation. And I'm going to be real and raw with you. When I was watching it, especially towards the end with Uba, I was definitely tearing up and having a little cry because I don't know, I feel like I might cry right now. Like, what the fuck is going on with me? I feel so bad for everyone involved in this situation, especially Brynn and Uba, because there's just so many things about Brynn. There's so many like telltale signs about Brynn that something awful is going on in her life and something awful happened to her. And I'm talking like this, like very stereotypical, like if you work with children, if you work with trauma, if you work, with therapists, like, the telltale signs of blah, 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 blah. There's just so many signs as to that. Something in that realm must have been going on, and these are her ways of coping with it. What I appreciate the most about these women is not one of them said, fuck Brynn, we're never talking to her again. I was actually genuinely shocked by that because I think what the women realized, and even Uba, I was so impressed by Uba. You have literally no idea how impressed I was with that woman. I was so proud of her. I was so impressed. And I think that's what was making me cry the most when I was watching it, is I could not believe someone that was going through and spoken to and talked about the way that we're talking about had enough compassion to ask, is Brynn okay? Is she going to be fine? And to also be like, I forgive her because I need to move on and I need to be okay. And when she said, oh my God, I'm not going to cry. But when she said, I'm not going to let her cut my wings, girl, that had me tearing up because I'm like, girl, it is so hard as a woman to have it's when a man talks shit about you. I don't know, this could just be me, but like when men say horrible things about us, I guess it doesn't bother me as much because I'm just like, I don't fucking care. Like, you're a dude, like you don't know me, like whatever. But when women talk shit about you, or women say nasty things about you, or women make up lies about you, it's kind of like a betrayal as a woman. It's like, I can't believe another woman would betray me when we're supposed to be on the same team. We're supposed to be there for each other. We're supposed to support each other. And the fact that like someone could say something like that on national television to make another woman look bad is wrong. And it's disturbing. But I'm proud of all the women for basically being like, one thing that Sai kind of said was like, she was like, listen, I'm never going to trust Brynn ever again. She didn't say I'm never going to talk to her again. I'm not going to spend any time with her. I'm going to pretend I never met her a day in my life, blah, 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 blah. She's just like, listen, like now I know I'm never going to trust her with anything that I say, with anything that we talk about. And it's creating like a boundary. And I think that boundaries are fine. It's okay to realize that someone is maybe not a bad person, but they're doing bad things. And that means that I don't have to be mean to you. I don't have to talk shit about you. I don't have to be nasty, but I don't need to have you in my sphere anymore. I don't need to have you in my realm anymore. And I think people like Brynn need to not be on reality television, if I'm going to be like real about it. I just don't think people like Brynn should be on reality TV. I think people that are that broken, rightfully so, to be honest with you, she has every right to be as broken as she is. To be as broken as you are and to go through as much trauma as you've been through and to say the things that you say in order to cope with that trauma, you are not somebody that needs to be on reality television. It's just too much. It's too much for your emotions. It's too much for your stability. It's just too much. Like you can, like, as someone who has spiraled many times in my life, you could just tell that she was like spiraling when she could not get off of the fact that she had it in her brain. Like, if you take everything else out of it, the one part that I was like, wow, she really can't get past this is like, she could not get past the fact that in her mind, Uba said that she sucked DNC to get XYZ in her life. And she didn't say that. Like those words did not come out of Uba's mouth. And Uba also could not get away from the fact that, oh, like, I didn't say that. I said this. And they both could not get off of that. And like Jenna mentioned that, like, there's just like this nuance that they like can't like see. They're just so stuck on, you said these words. No, I said these words. And it's like, but it's the same shit. Like, it's the same gist. Like, we're insinuating the same thing. Okay. So why don't we just agree that, like, I shouldn't have insinuated anything or said anything to that realm that is not fair to you. But like, they both want each other to say, no, you said this, or no, you insinuated. Like, they need to have the exact words come out that they think is going on in their head. And drunk them that's just not going to fucking happen. Like, that is not going to happen. The conversation was just getting nowhere. And then you have someone like Uba, who is very, you know, she's very animated, very, you know, when she speaks, she's like, oh, like full of life. And I'm the same way. Like, sometimes I feel like people don't listen to me when I'm talking because of the way that I'm talking, like with my hands, or like I'm elevated, or I'm crying. And it's like, I'm not, but like, you're not listening to me. Like, this is stuff that I can't really help. Like, this is stuff that's just innate in me, like crying, or like my hands going like this. It's like, just listen to what I'm saying first. And so it's hard to listen to Uba because Uba is like yelling and she's screaming and she's so upset and she feels so fucked up and da 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 da. And I just wish at one point someone just would have been like, and I feel like, I can't remember her name. One of the women there, said, like, went up to Brynn and just like hugged her and was like, I hear you. I see you. Like, I validate you. And I just kind of wish like Uba could have, not that Brynn kind of like deserved it, I guess, but like, I just wish Uba would have like basically walked up to Brynn and gave her this giant bear hug and been like, what is this? Like, what are we fighting about? Like, what is the deep rooted problem? Like, can we have like, this is so beyond what we should be fighting about. Like, this is so petty and so fucking stupid. What is going on? Like, what is going on? And you can clearly tell, like, the more Brynn kept talking and spiraling, it was very much, she didn't want to be perceived a certain way. She didn't want to be looked at a certain way. She didn't want to be talked to a certain way. And as a Black woman, like, all the pain and suffering that you have to go to prove yourself. As a woman, all the pain and suffering you have to do to fucking prove yourself all the goddamn time. And that whole experience. And then when we find out, obviously, that she was assaulted and that was 3 years ago, which is crazy to think that that was so recent. It wasn't even like it was like when I was, like, it doesn't matter when, obviously. The timeline doesn't matter when. But it does, but in the sense of like, wow, that was so recent. Like, holy shit. And to have, and that must have happened like right before they were filming or right as they were starting to film the show. Like, that's so fucked up and so scary and so fucking sad. And to have there be a root of that, and you can tell someone's traumatized when they project the trauma onto people around them instead of just saying what the trauma is and that they need to talk about it. And I feel like instead of her being like, this is why I feel this way, this is what is upsetting me, it was, Uba's a bad person because Uba doesn't understand what I'm saying and Uba didn't listen to me and Uba knew about this and she's the bad guy. And it's like, Uba's not the bad guy, like, in this situation. Like, she's not. It's really fucking sad because, like, Brynn is clearly going through a lot of fucking trauma. And instead of fixing it for herself, she's projecting it onto other people. She's putting bullshit onto other people. And there's just, you can see when someone is just so hurt. So, like, Brynn is just so fucking hurt. And you can just see it on her face. You can see the way that she's reacting. You can see it by the way that she changed her tune the next day. And she's not even asking about Uba and how's Uba and is Uba okay? And I'm so sorry for what I did to Uba. And I can't believe I said that about her. Whereas Uba comes in, is crying and is like, is you know, Brynn okay? Like, where is she? Like, what, like, one of the first things that come out of her mouth is that. And it's like, oh my God, like Uba's sitting here being accused of talking shit about someone who told her that she was assaulted, but still has compassion. But Brynn has zero. And it's like a little disturbing, but it also speaks to the amount of trauma this woman has gone through. That I think that Brynn has probably had to put up this shield so many times of like, no, I don't really care. And it's not a big deal. And I'll get over it. So she can kind of like move on and not continuously repeat the trauma over and over again. But sometimes what's annoying and sucks about trauma is sometimes you have to sit with it, acknowledge it, and kind of push through it in order to move forward. Because otherwise it just sits there and it never goes away. Like you have to shove it out. Like you have to acknowledge it, bring it to the door, and shove it out the door. And if you don't do that, it's going to stay in your home forever and ever and ever and ever. And it's so fucking sad. And what made me sad at the end of the episode, what made me so sad is I hated that Brynn was acting like nobody fucking cared. When that seemed to me, at least from what I was watching and what I was seeing and the text messages that were happening and everybody asking her, is she okay? Is everything fine? Are you going to be okay today? How can you sit there and say that nobody cares about you in this group when that's clearly not true? That's clearly not fucking true. They all care about you. Even Uba cares about you. But you can't say these things about other women. You can't do that. You can't insinuate or suggest or matter-of-factly that someone knew about your assault and then kind of like used it against you. Like you can't say things like that. That's so disturbing to me. You cannot do that. Especially when I'm going to assume that Uba is a very good friend. Out of the group of them, out of all these women on this show, on this TV program, I'm going to assume Uba is a very good person and would not do that. So it's just wild to me. And I appreciate the women understanding Brynn's trauma and acknowledging that pain and that suffering, and that's hard and that's awful and that's horrible. But at the same time, acknowledging that Uba is not the type of person that would do that. And it's not that we don't believe Brynn and the trauma and the hardships she's been through. It's that we also know our friend Uba, and Brynn knows our friend Uba, and she would not do something intentional like this. And I do kind of imagine and could believe also that Brynn probably called Uba spiraling. I could probably imagine that. Called Uba spiraling and talking a million miles an hour. And the reason why I can believe this is because I've fucking done that. And is talking a million miles an hour and is bringing so many different things up, and that it was not like specifically acknowledged, like very point blank, like that, like the conversation was not about Brynn's assault. Like, as my assumption is that the conversation was about 700 different things, and it got lost in the sauce. Like, I can believe that. My issue is that you making it seem like intentionally Uba is taking this information and using that against you when that's just not her character. She does not come off as that person. I don't think she's ever really come off as that person. And it makes me sad. And Uba is so passionate and gets so angry, gets so frustrated when she feels betrayed. Like, you can tell Uba is the type of person that, because you only see this with people that, in my opinion, are like very good friends and people, is that when they feel betrayed, that is like the hardest thing to them. Like, you call them a bitch and a pain in the ass and this and that. Like, you could tell like the modeling shit was less like, yeah, I know, I'm Naomi Campbell. Like, bleh. Like, it didn't like really bother her that badly. Like, it is what it is, whatever. But when she felt betrayed, when she felt like her friend like got lost with, I don't know, like, when she felt betrayed is the best way I can put it. Like, when Uba felt like she was betrayed, that's when she lost it. Was like, I cannot believe you would take my kindness and use that for whatever bullshit you want to put out there. Like, it's just wrong. It's a very nuanced conversation, I will say. Like, I don't feel it's very black and white. I don't feel it's very like, Uba's right, Brynn's wrong. Like, I feel like they both had moments where it's like, why the fuck did you say that? Or why the hell did you do that? Or like, calm down. Or like, there's no need for that. But I do feel like overall that I don't like how Uba is so good about, you know, I'm so sorry for my part in it. I forgive you, but I also need to have a boundary and I can't be a part of this conversation anymore. I can't be a part of your life anymore. I don't want to know you anymore. I don't need to be a part of this. But Brynn can't, like, and Sai says it over and over again. Brynn cannot just own her shit. She cannot just go, I'm sorry. It's I'm sorry, but, or, well, what about this? Or, oh, let me blame everybody over here. And it's like, girl, this is why I think she needs to be off reality television, because you can't be on reality television because they will find the receipts. They will find the footage of you lying. And they did. They will show proof of your behavior over and over and over again and make you look a certain way. And Brynn, I just don't feel like is cut out for that type of like criticism over and over and over again. And I can't even imagine the anxiety she must feel knowing that this episode was going to come out and be aired, and for all of our opinions. Like, I can't even imagine what that feels like. It must feel fucking horrible, which is why I'm trying so hard to, like, again, like, be very, very cognizant of, like, what she went through, but also having to hold her accountable as, like, someone, as an audience member, obviously, and hold her behavior accountable and be like, listen, like, you have this trauma and we acknowledge that, but that doesn't give you the right to accuse somebody of something that horrific and awful who's supposedly supposed to be a friend of yours. It has, like, at some point there has to be a line. It has to stop. Like, the drama, the bullshit, the anger, the frustration, there has to be a line in the sand that we can't do this. You know, and they, all of them said it. They're like, she crossed a line. Like, you can be angry, you can be sad, you can be frustrated, but there is a line and you crossed it. And it just makes me sad. Like, it makes me so fucking sad. And like, this is the part where Housewives isn't fun anymore. It's not entertaining anymore. It's too raw. It's too real. And it's just wrong. And I feel like that was a big thing with Real Housewives of New Jersey, is the family shit got to be too much. The family stuff was too dark and too messed up and needed to be handled off camera, not on camera. And I feel like the stuff with Erica, I feel bad. I do have compassion for Erica in the sense that I just wish that she didn't have to be on camera when all that stuff was going on, so that the pain and the heartache and the trauma and the anger that she had could have been off camera. Like, she could have behaved the same exact way, but just off camera. You know what I'm saying? There's just like every Housewives franchise has that moment where you kind of feel like, at least for me, I feel like, oh, I shouldn't be watching this. Like, I shouldn't know about this. I shouldn't be privy to this. I shouldn't be a part of this. And, you know, they also mentioned the comparison to Phaedra in Atlanta when she accused, I believe it was, she accused Kandi of assaulting Portia, I believe it was. And when apparently that did not happen. And, you know, Phaedra got basically like taken off of Bravo for years. And now it's just finally coming back. And I still believe, like, listen, Phaedra's fucking entertaining as hell. But I'm sorry, she does owe Kandi an apology. And she does owe the public an apology for putting that out there, when that's damning shit that you don't just get to say offhandedly. And I feel like Brynn owes Uba an apology for what she said and the insinuations that she made. I feel like that needs to be spoken about, and it needs to be an apology. And it looks like that's not going to happen on the reunion. It looks like she's just going to double down and defend her shit behavior. And she can't do that. I think you should just, it's so simple to me. It's very much look at the camera and go, I have been through so much trauma. I have had so much pain this year. And instead of getting that fixed, figuring that out for myself, or just having a conversation with you about it, I took it out on you. I blamed you and I put that all on you. And I should not have done that. And I acknowledge that. And I know that you're going to say you're sorry for your part, and I appreciate that, and I thank you, but I just want to say that I should not have taken my trauma and made it out to be that you were the one imposing it upon me, when clearly you are not. You are a friend. You love me. You've been there for me. You've been nothing but good to me, and I failed you, and I'm so sorry. Like, it's so easy to give an apology without the but attached to it. Like, it's so easy. Like, sometimes you just need to sit down, zip your lip, say you're sorry, and move on. But that's really hard for people to do. And I can tell that's very hard for Bryn. But so that's kind of how I feel about the 2 episodes. Let me know what shows you want me to talk about next. I have been loving all the Southern shows, Southern Charm, Southern Hospitality. I have been loving those shows. So let me know if those are shows that you guys want me to talk about. I've been very much enjoying it. If you want me to talk about the Traders, I'm happy to talk about that. I have lots of thoughts and feelings about the Traders. And any other shows, honestly, it doesn't have to be like NBC Bravo shows. It's going to be whatever you want. So just let me know, comment down below. Comment how you've been feeling lately. How's everything going for you? I know 2025 has been very difficult, very traumatizing for a lot of people, sadly. I am going to leave a link in my bio. That is for my Housewives. And if you click on that link, it'll give you links to how to help out people affected by the fires in LA. And there will also be a link to the Transanta program that helps and supports and gives gifts and supplies and all kinds of stuff to trans youth. Because as I say in every one of my videos at the very end, we love to support LGBTQIA businesses, small businesses, programs, especially now in the times that we live in. So I love you guys so much. I hope you have a great day. I hope you stay safe. Find what makes you happy. Find what keeps you going because, girl, we're going to need it this year, okay? Love you. Bye.